Hey, so, wow, we have like 3 people. That's awesome. So this is SP Automation. This has been an initiative by the Network Growth Solutions and Architecture team. So Bob Dubois, myself, Angelo, and various other people at Protocol Labs. It is a suite of Ansible tools and playbooks for automating every stage of running a Filecoin storage provider. So the idea is that with SP automation, you should be able to take an existing SP soon, or start an SP for the first time and have almost everything taken care of for you from start to finish. So who am I? I'm Benjamin Wings Arntzen. Obviously, on the team that I just mentioned. And let's get right into it. So what is the purpose of the stack? So we want to reduce what I call time to first sector. So, you know, when you first get started, the time between when you first decide you want to become an SP to there being a sector sealed on chain on mainnet should be as short as possible. You should be able to go from I've decided to do this to I'm doing this very, very quickly. We want to enable and encourage SPs to use best practices. We want to make it really, really easy for them to make the right decisions, but also have the power to make their own decisions as far as how their SP is configured and managed. We want to take advantage of all of the great improvements coming to Boost, Lotus, and other parts of the SP stack that will improve high availability and horizontal scalability. And we also want to improve the overall experience of running an SP. So the other advantage of having this stack here is that we can actually tell Lotus and Boost and work with them, hey, let's use this tooling to improve the actual process of testing and really fleshing out Lotus and Boost. So we can do things like every single time we tag a commit, that's of any importance. So, you know, releases, release candidates, that sort of thing. Let's run a complete start to finish redeployment of an SP and run it on calibration net. And then if we are about to cut a production release, we test it against a real SP before we actually cut that release. It's meant to improve the entire lifecycle of running an SP. So from installation to upgrades, maintenance, rollbacks, patches, sector management. And over time, we would basically want to manage everything that you'd want to run with an SP. So what we'll be showing off today is a minimal viable product version of the SP automation. We want to get early feedback, and we built this to basically explore the idea and figure out how this will work, what it will look like, and gauge interest from the community, and also hopefully improve our decision making early on so that we have something maintainable long term. It's heavily based on the earlier Lotus automation bash scripts by the Network Growth Solutions and Architecture team. So if you've already seen sort of the bash automatic deployment scripts primarily worked on by Bob Dubois, you'll be very familiar with most of what this is doing, but this takes it a lot further because this is not just bootstrapping and setting up an SP for the first time. This is also maintenance and upgrades. So when a new version of Lotus comes out, the user experience is very simple. You go to your Git repository with your data stored in it, which doesn't need to contain any keys because of the way the playbook is built. You can have your SP configuration publicly on GitHub if you so choose. You change your Lotus version to whatever the new version is, and when you run the automation, it will automatically detect that the version of Lotus you're running is the older version or a different version than what you've specified. It will upgrade and install Lotus, and it will automatically restart everything. And in the future, it'll also do that smoothly, doing things like making sure sectors are not being sealed while it's doing your restart. It covers the end-to-end installation of Lotus D, Lotus Miner, soon Lotus Worker, Boost D, Boost D Data, Booster HTTP, Gigabyte DB, and later today it will also do Booster Bitswap. We just ran clean out of time. I've been working on this right up until this presentation. So here's a demo. Give me 1 second to queue it up. Fun thing about this presentation is this is actually a link. So hopefully we should just be able to, there we go. So here we are running the playbook, and it goes by really quickly. So I'm gonna try and follow along. first we're going to install node.js and make sure it's installed. And obviously, if Node is already installed, it doesn't have to do much. So we're doing Golang now. So Node's installed, Go is being installed, or already is. We're doing Rust now. And now we're on to LotusD. So we set some limits. We do a few other things. We set build flags for how we're building Lotus. We actually automatically detect what GPU you have, what settings you need to build Lotus in an optimized fashion. And by this point, we've actually already got Lotus ready to go. It's now doing a Lotus synchronization to make sure Lotus is synchronized with the network. And we're onto Lotus Miner. It's moving a lot of stuff around. And very quickly, Lotus Miner is done. Here is Boost. And obviously, this is not installing an SP from the first time. That takes a little bit longer because obviously it has to do things. But the point of this is that when you're running this day to day, you don't have to wait for hours for this to reconcile your setup and bring it to the state that it should be in. Ideally, you should be able to do it really quickly. So this is all real time, by the way. There's no actual artificial cuts in this entire recording. So now we're setting Boost actors. So Boost is already set up, and we're basically just announcing to the network any other details. Finally, we're doing Booster HTTP and Nginx, including TLS setup. So we automatically handle Let's Encrypt for you, including all your TLS certificates, including restarting Nginx, and maintaining your SSL certificates so that they don't expire. And very soon, we'll be right at the end. So it's doing Nginx, and it's doing the TLS management, as I said, and there we go. In 1 minute and 58 seconds, we have just made sure our SP is fully up to date. If there was an actual upgrade, it would take approximately 3 minutes plus whatever time it takes for your machine to build whatever software has been updated. So if that's Boost, it won't take long. If it's Lotus, it'll obviously take a little bit longer because it's more complex software. So with that, back to the presentation. Cool. So demo 2, I will have a link to that. It's not actually that interesting, so I'm going to skip past it. But the key thing is that with demo 2, we're actually running the exact same automation, but we're doing a couple of tricks with Ansible, namely enabling pipelining and Ansible mitagen. And that actually takes that runtime down from 2 minutes down to 1 minute and 8 seconds. So in 1 minute and 8 seconds, your SP will figure out if it needs to do anything and tell you, hey, you're up to date. This is the current estimated time from having hardware on the floor and having a file system to store sealed sectors on to having a working SP if you were to, as a new user, run this stack for the first time and set yourself up. And 12 hours sounds like a really long time, but I've been told by numerous people that for the current setup, most people take about a week or two to set up their SP for the first time. Up to about a month is actually not completely unheard of. So this is the estimated time for bootstrapping an SP from scratch, including chain synchronization, bootstrap, parameter downloading, driver installation. We even take care of installing the video drivers and maintaining them and keeping them up to date for you. So this is for the complete setup from start to finish. In under 12 hours, you should be able to run an SP. In under 18 to 24 hours, depending on your sealing time, you should be able to go from nothing to I have a sealed sector on chain and making me money. There are some future improvements which we already have planned. We've had lots and lots of internal discussions as far as what this automation should do, what it can't do, what it can do, what's in scope or out of scope. One of the things we really are interested in and will be shipping really soon, essentially as soon as we cut this release and have a bit of time, is multi-host support. So we're going to be introducing support for Lotus Worker and arbitrary worker profiles so that you can deploy against whatever hardware configurations you have and scale your operation. We're going to have seamless expansion of Yugabyte DB. So when you have a Yugabyte DB installation with this MVP is targeted at single node installations, which are not really a very real world useful scenario. So what we sort of envision is when you're trying an SP out for the first time, you might start out with a single node with a GPU in it. You might start on CalibNet even. You might go into mainnet and start experimenting. And then over time, you'll want to actually take your SP and expand it out to a full production-ready setup. And in that case, you want to take your existing data and keep it, right? Because losing data is no fun. So we'll seamlessly support an upgrade path, which may have some manual steps, but ideally will be fully automated to go to a multi-node setup where you have splitting out Lotus workers, Yugabyte DB onto its own hosts. However you want to scale it, we believe this automation should be able to support that. We're going to have adopt an SP functionality. So if you already have a storage provider, which is pretty common, you will probably eventually want to run this automation stack, or hopefully sooner than that. And we'll basically have a porting guide that allows you to take an existing SP and make it compliant with this automation stack so that you can just run it and make your life easier, quicker, and not have to redeploy. We actually have so much planned that we had to use 2 slides. So we're hoping to make an alternate version of this, which will support Venus. So we're talking to the Venus team about that at the moment, and they're really excited, so watch this space. Basic wallet management. So we're going to allow for you to do things like, the setup guide asks you to send fill from one wallet to another to fund various different things. We already have rudimentary wallet management built in that handles all those steps for you, but we want to do things like detect that you have a low wallet balance in one of your wallets and automatically send fill from your main wallet and load balance across them, which also will fit in really nicely with load balancing functionality that's already coming or built into Lotus. We're going to have the monitoring stack eventually built in so that when you deploy this, you get a full monitoring stack and you can monitor every aspect of your SP. And part of that is going to be that that's going to bring together the best ideas and best practices for monitoring an SP from the community. So your feedback is very welcome. Please tell us what you monitor with your SP and help us improve that over time. As I said, intelligent handling of restarts for Lotus Miner and workers. So if you're in the middle of sealing and you run this playbook and you're doing a Lotus upgrade because there's a new version of Lotus, you probably don't want to throw away your sectors halfway through and waste many dollars of computation, potentially across hundreds of hosts if you're a massive SP. So this should, at some point in the near future, handle that gracefully, where it will pause sealing and then wait for the sealing jobs to complete before it finishes the upgrades. And we're also going to look at sector fault recovery so that if you do happen to fault a sector in some way, we will try and help you through that as automatically as we possibly can. So that's the end of the actual live presentation. The code is up on GitHub at github.com/ngsolutionsarchitecture, SP stack automation. It's on screen. We really want you to try this out. So our documentation is still being worked on, but if you want to get an early taste, email me at wings@protocol.ai. And in the next couple of days, possibly while I'm on a plane, I'll be working on the finalized documentation for the MVP so that anyone can try this out, ideally without even needing to talk to us, because it will just be that easy. And that's it for the presentation. So here's the discussion time. Let's talk about it. What do you want the stack to do that it doesn't already? What do you think, and how will this change how you run an SP? So thank you very much.
Any questions? Other than I like it.
Thank you.
I think at least we talk a lot as well, but on the Lotus side, Lotus Miner side, there will be refactors. So we should definitely talk a lot about how we prioritize some of these features so that we don't have to do redundant work.
Yeah, no, that would be, definitely. So that's one of the goals of the automation stack is essentially is exactly that, actually, to reduce duplication of effort and duplication of work. our understanding from talking to SPs and sort of examining the market is that there's probably dozens or hundreds of SPs out there who, by necessity, in order to manage their operation, have built their own automation stack, and with varying levels of complexity and success. Some of those automations out there are probably really terrible. Some of them are really awesome, and some of them might even be better than what we've written. But what we want to do is bring them all together and sort of say, like, hey, this is going to be like the recommended way forward for installing Lotus and Boost and for getting these things set up, and to sort of combine all the efforts of everyone who needs to do this automation so that we're working on the same code base, and at the same time also offer all the flexibility that you would get if you were writing it all from scratch yourself. So if you are an SP that does very deep customization, we won't be able to suit your needs for a while, because obviously to make this flexible enough to really allow you to have every single tunable is going to be quite difficult. But over time, that is actually the goal, is we want to have even very complex, very customized SPs running very, very strange software, able to run this and able to contribute to this effort, so that we have like a single unified front on making running an SP really easy and really smooth. So.
Just thought.
Perfect.
Hey.
Hi, my name's Jonathan. I look after the team at Anthony at Holon, and the Holon team. We built Soda, which you looked at this week.
Yep.
So, chuck you under the bus. What did you think of that?
I think I was incredibly sleep deprived during that meeting. That is my most honest answer. I was extremely excited by what I saw, and part of, I think we learned about Soda like halfway through developing this, so we're really excited to see like how we can actually, especially if Soda is like beginning to look at the open source model, how can we like combine those efforts and make like a more holistic end-to-end product?
Yeah, definitely. Like we're already like quite far down the line, right? Like we got servers which manage 14 miners on one box, and ultimately Lotus doesn't like that, but we kind of dupe those things to make it happen, right? To be more cost effective.
Sure.
But yeah, I love this. This is great. I remember in the early days, it took us months to get to our first CC sector, and there was a lot of swearing in there. So this is amazing.
I'm very familiar with that last problem. No comment as to whether there was swearing on my part while developing this, but yeah, no, I think it's really, really cool. I talk about combining effort. I think it's actually really cool that so many SPs have built their own stacks like Soda to do exactly this and tackle this problem space. What we want to do is just make it so that we have like a complete, so that we have more cooperation, and that everyone can kind of benefit, and like the rising tide lifts all boats, you know, that whole cheesy saying. Yeah, I think I'm really excited about Soda. I would love to spend some time with you like in another meeting at some point and like go over it properly so I can really understand exactly what it's doing, because I think I joined that meeting halfway through, and then I was running on about 2 hours of sleep at the time. So please contact me at some point and maybe show me it again, and I'm going to be really, really excited to see it more.
No worries.
So
Our goal is just to make an interface
Yep.
for our accountant to manage 100 servers.
sure.
And we've got all the mechanics done. Now we're just going to put a shiny UI on it.
Yep.
And yeah.
Perfect.
Make life easy.
Awesome. All right. Well, I look forward to continuing that dialogue. Do we have any more questions? Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.